The 8-Bit Hillbillies.
Hey. I'm not even going to try and beatbox this intro this week. I had nothing. So I'll just start with that.
I can't beatbox.
So yeah, I had nothing. So hey, welcome to the 8-Bit Hillbillies number 3. Zelda is the princess. That's what we're calling this one, and I have a story behind that.
Yeah, the green dude with the pointy hat.
And yes,
Wrong.
as Zesty has pointed out, that is a knock on the old, everybody used to, just for whatever everybody assumes Zelda was Link. That was always lost on people, and oddly enough, I had a conversation with someone the other day where we were talking about the Legend of Zelda, and one of the people in the conversation was like, "Zelda's the princess," and they kept looking at me and nodding, like, I know this one. I'm not going to get this confused."
Not this time.
No. I'm aware that Zelda is the princess, and Link is the guy you're actually controlling, attacking Octorok monsters with his sword in the overworld.
In the overworld.
According to the official Zelda wiki image that we were just kind of reviewing some things, getting kind of a little bit prepped beforehand. So, we're gonna dive into the land of Hyrule tonight. We're gonna try and keep it focused on the earlier games, but as I've said in the description of the video, look, if you've been following us for any amount of time, you know that we follow rabbit holes, get sucked off into vortexes. Yeah, there's no way we're going to stay completely on the early ones. But we're going to try. We're going to at least start there.
We can try, but don't expect it. And don't be surprised if it happens.
I am also going to be basically useless this episode.
Well, that's
you still need to play it.
You still need to play it. We'll find ways to bring in, and we will still. I think we will have a trial by fire. I don't know if we'll stream
the general concept.
That's the important part.
And I can compare it to other games that I have played in the past.
It's
just, you've played Breath of the Wild, right?
No. I own Breath of the Wild, but I had not played it. I ended up getting distracted with other things.
Of course you did.
Well, never mind
then. A few housekeeping things before we get started, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
So as usual, we're not as well. Actually, we're not doing our usual where we say, "Hey, like, share, subscribe, comment." This time we're only 3.5 minutes in, and we're getting that part done, not 2 hours later.
That's what I was going to do.
Well, so I've been kicking around the idea of having a general housekeeping list, just handy for the start of every one of these, that we knock out certain things like that. The like, share, subscribe being one of them. Maybe just some kind of other stuff. Hey, let's hit the ground running with a general, hey, this is what we're going to try and talk about, keep focused on. So yeah, I've been toying around with that, as we kind of develop and grow this. So, only at this point, 15, 16 episodes overall. But hey, we're getting there. So, to start off, we'll dive right on into the original Legend of Zelda, the original gold cart, which I did not have, actually. I know. Sit there and grin. You had it. It's on my list to track down and have for my collection.
The gold cartridge?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw one at Fanboy when we went last time, and they wanted some ungodly amount of money for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it in box?
No. I think they wanted like
Oh,
over
dear.
100. I think they wanted like 150 or something for it.
For a loose out of the cartridge gold cart Zelda out of box.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
they
was
wanted
something
a bit
stupid.
too much for it.
That is ridiculous.
It's only going, just a card alone, I think, is going anywhere from 30 to 40.
Yeah, it's still very reasonable. I mean, you need to inspect them because some of them have some chipping, some paint issues. They're inspect it, but nowhere near worth $150.
Yeah. Do you remember Turk when we found that gold Zelda cartridge? Do you remember how much they wanted for it at Fanboy? I want to say it was like 100, 150, somewhere in there. It was something stupid.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, it was something stupid. It was something that had no right being.
Yeah, well,
it's a great game. It's a great collectible, but that is, someone was on.
I think it was 100 plus. I think it was probably upwards of 125 to 150.
And at the horrible risk of starting to derail us already, that's the general shape of retro now, or state of retro now. Just stupid prices.
Yep.
Some of the prices I've been seeing for a few other gyms, and I'm like, even on Mercari, I'm just like, no. It's stuff easily available. Like, there's just no reason.
No?
There's no reason to charge that
How
much.
about no?
It's not rare. I mean, it's rare, but like, you could play it on a number of other consoles. But like I said, that's the state of retro now, it seems like. And
it's not just retro.
You're
paying
a mint for nostalgia is what it basically boils down to.
Well,
it is.
Not just
and welcome
that too.
Welcome to the stream, 6-inch.
He's joining us from the Waffle House in the Nether.
Waffle House in hell. Yeah.
6-inch on location.
Yeah, on location.
As you can see behind me, everything's on fire.
Except the Waffle House.
As you can see behind me, everything sucks.
But the Waffle House is still open.
The Waffle House.
Yeah, I don't know. I just Paul popped up and I was just like, sure.
Roll with it. I'm enjoying it.
Roll with it.
It looks great. And hey, you know what? So that's going to be my plug for why I recommend anybody watching this, listening to this, tune into the live stream, because you get to see this. If you catch us on the podcast, you kind of miss this element. Tune into the live stream. You get to catch the live shenanigans. And
you don't get to see what we're talking about. All you can do is hear it.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good imagination.
Waffle House. Hell.
Picture it.
With
fire.
a 6-inch turkey.
And they're still open, serving hash browns that are going to give you the shits.
And we enjoy every bite of it.
Yes.
I was going to say, they don't usually do that to me. But...
Well, they don't either to me. It's just like, that's the general consensus with the average man with the inferior digestive system.
Whatever you say, Zesty.
Okay.
Anyway,
the average
back
man
to it. Back to it.
Well, you know what they say. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Absolutely dangerous to go alone.
Take these grits.
Right off the bat, first thing that pops into my mind. All right, you talk about the original Zelda, the gold cart. I did look at this prior. It is not the original open world game. There were a few that kind of counted before it. I guess if you were like some of us and the NES was your first console and all that, realistically, this was probably the first open world game we played, and maybe it was the first for a lot of people. Technically, it wasn't. But you start off, you go to the cave. Anybody have a certain direction you go? Like
left.
Always go up.
Generally goes
go
up.
to the cave, get the sword, come out, and go straight up. And there I kill Octoroks. in the overworld, because that's the first enemy I always run into is the Octoroks. Always a classic. But yeah, I'll go up and usually to the right. The first place I always headed to was level 2. I didn't go to level 1. I went to level 2. I've got my reasons for that.
Okay. You said you went left,
holding on
Turkey?
Yes.
Any reason? Any just...
No.
There's no strategy.
It's just as simple. That was the easiest. I just came out, and it's just the way I went.
Okay.
Chose left.
My pattern was influenced by Janrigan. So I guess in a way I don't know that I had kind of the original exposure to pick my path. Because growing up, I still remember, you first time you firing it up and the path you went, like for whatever reason in my 5-year-old mind stuck. And that has been like gospel to me. And I go up. And I guess the particular day that I watched you play, for whatever you headed to the first dungeon. And that path, this very specific path, oddly enough, and it's not the best path that I've learned later. It's not the best path to the first dungeon. There's easier ways. But yeah, that is what has stuck with me.
Give me a break.
You got to be better.
So yeah, I kind of don't have like I have what I just watched one time, and I was like, well, that's got to be the way you do it. That has to be the way. And then after Dungeon 1, I just kind of wandered around aimlessly.
That's usually what I do.
Just wander around aimlessly.
And then I wander into areas that I have no business in.
That was part of the reason why I never played Zelda, was because I played one of them. I think it was Lost Island. It's the one with the big egg.
Link's Awakening.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Lost Island.
I don't remember, man. I was like 13. That's been over 10 years. Cut me some slack.
Lost Island. We're all sitting there like, and then he says, with the big egg, oh, Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening.
Yeah. Well, he got lost on an island. I mean,
it's true. He got,
he kind of washes up on shore.
I was going to say, he was shipwrecked. He was shipwrecked on an island. He wasn't technically lost on an island. I mean,
he was put there against his will.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I was lost on the island.
That makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of sense because I have been there.
Yeah, I had no idea what to do. I'm wandering around blowing stuff up, and I'm like, I don't get it.
I got the re-release. Well, it wasn't really a re-release. It was the new.
It was a remake.
That they brought out on the Switch, and I played through it, and I got up into the Highlands, and I just got all kinds turned around. I was just like, I have no idea where I'm at.
Or what I played it doing. And beat it on the original Game Boy.
I think you're probably the only one.
I didn't have it on the original Game Boy. But you know what I do have it on now?
The Switch.
Game & Watch.
Yeah, it's true. I got mine up there on the wall right now.
The Legend of Zelda Game & Watch, and it has Link's Awakening on there.
It's right there.
I was playing it on 3DS.
Okay. So I see you're not completely, because I mean, let's be honest. If you're playing Link's Awakening, you're far enough back that's close enough to those originals. You're not as far removed as you think.
Yeah, but I had maybe an hour in it of just wandering around doing nothing important.
Well, that also doesn't surprise me, but we love you.
Wandering around.
Well, the thing was, I just
didn't. Talking to me about this windfish.
Yeah, that's like
I would
it's
dig
like,
out my gold cart, but it's a bit too big of a hassle right now.
Don't worry about it.
it's like look for the windfish. What's a windfish?
It's okay. Look, we'd be lying if any of us said none of us had never got lost in a Zelda before.
Yeah.
That's true.
Where am
Especially that
I?
first one.
Who am I?
Especially the first one. And
Majora's Mask.
oh gosh.
The original version of Majora's Mask. If you didn't get lost in it, you weren't playing the game.
I tell you what, I want to play Majora's Mask. I do, just for the sheer fact of I kept seeing memes. It's like me as a 13-year-old, like wandering through the forest. Because apparently there's this forest that was like nightmare fuel,
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
and I would like to at least experience that firsthand.
Well,
Well, I mean,
we'll do
even
that
like
one night. We'll get you squared away. But
we can make
Ocarina
it
of
happen.
Time, when you went into the cemetery.
yeah, the cemetery
that
is
what
pretty
it was?
scary in
Had the-
Ocarina.
Yeah, he was in there monkeying around with old Dompe, the
It, the picture
Undertaker
I
or whatever he was, cemetery guy.
the picture I
Well,
saw was like a thing with like an unhinged jaw with like a very wide like long mouth or something like that. I don't remember.
You were probably tripping on acid. Who knows?
No, it was a picture that went with the Zelda game, and they were like, "This game was terrifying to me as a small child," and I was like,
Anyway,
there is a
interesting.
I'm gonna come in and rein us back. All right. So
I mean, we're still talking about Zelda.
you're getting way
here's the
too
thing.
off.
we mentioned that we want to do the earlier games. We didn't really set a cap on what would define earlier game.
That's it.
Quite honestly, so I mean, how far are we wanting to look on?
When I say the early, I and when Link's Awakening, SNES, NES, I would say is the earlier.
So all before I was born.
Yes.
You want to set that as the cap?
But hey,
you have
played Link's Awakening, so
right, and you got lost. That's
lost.
Experience.
I mean,
we have a shared connection in this. So
I've been lost in
Zelda
a lot of games.
Zelda 2, Adventure of Link.
I was going to say the Adventure of Link.
Mm-hmm. Zelda, Link to the Past.
Yep.
And then Link's Awakening.
And I don't know. Ocarina is that's when you start to get into a really deep rabbit hole. I want to say Ocarina, but I don't know if we keep that one in the high level that I know we'll end up getting to.
I mean, it's got that distinction of being the first 3D Zelda game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say
more open world esque in the sense of it's not like not original Zelda where it's more like a top down, but it's an actual,
you're in the world.
Third person, or trailing camera, but you're running around in the world.
Yeah. And you truly felt free to explore that world. And I mean, when you think of the original, we got lost back then so much in it's just old graphics. You didn't see the bigger picture. And now, like, to look back at it, it's like, oh, it really was kind of the same open world. It's just it was top down. We didn't. I don't know. The imagination didn't kick in. And you go back and you look at it now, and it's like, oh, it's the same thing as Ocarina in a way. But yeah, can go anywhere. Choose your own path. I was watching a playthrough the other day, and also trying to prep for this. There's just so much that you can grab before you ever touch that first dungeon. And I always hit that first dungeon with my little sword and 3 hearts, and I'm watching this playthrough and I'm just like, man, I really tackled this
You
in the wrong way.
Yeah, you're doing it the hard way.
I I did. And then I also seem to remember that, once I realized that there were secrets, once you burnt down a few bushes, spending hours upon hours wandering the countryside trying to burn down every single bush square by square.
The big thing to keep in mind, and here's the thing, Zesty, is if we're going to have you play this, now's a good time to start soaking in a few tips and tricks. Here's the deal. Just about every screen, if it doesn't already have an opening or a door on it, probably has a secret door in it, hidden behind the wall, behind a
A bush.
boulder, under a bush. There's probably a secret door there.
Who hides a door under a bush? You know who? Psychopaths.
We'll have another discussion with you a little bit later about. Anyway,
Listen, why do you gotta go there?
because they already did. That's what they were giggling about. But just about
There's
every
actually
screen's
one. I
got
think
a
it's the
hidden
original
door.
Zelda.
What?
What?
That just
Yeah,
that
the
just
original
lost me.
Zelda.
Anyway,
There's a bush.
there's a bush.
There's a bush, and you have to push through the bush.
Stop.
Ron.
You started it. You laughed at it, so you must accept the consequences.
Yes, there's Legend of Zelda. Okay, so anyway, back to the tips and
Are
tricks.
you gonna bring it?
Push
Are
Through
you
the
gonna let
bush. That needs to be on a shirt or a hat.
in the first Zelda there is a bush?
Push through the bush.
that
All right.
you-
Push through the
Anyway.
bush.
Janigan, please save us.
But there's a hidden door on every screen, just about. So keep that in mind. But level 2, as far my grand scheme of things, it's still not the most bestest way to do this. There's still better ways, but I always usually head straight to level 2. Now, why Dungeon 2? What in the heck is so special about that? Why don't I just go to Dungeon 1? Because Dungeon 2 has a little thing about it that it is full of snakes, and they actually the snakes in Zelda are called rope. Kind of crazy, right? It's full of nope ropes.
Hey, it was the 80s. Come on.
So it's
There's
full
a
of nope
bush.
ropes, it's full of snakes.
Are they no
And-
poop noodles?
I just heard the word poop diddles. Anyway,
No,
Um,
poop noodles.
there.
You psychopath.
oh, boot noodle, got you. But you go in there and you kill everything in this
Boob
dungeon.
noodle?
You go in there,
Yeah.
you go
No,
up,
boop.
you kill everything.
B-O-O-P.
Look, Janigan's trying to give
I
you
don't-
sound life
I don't-
advice.
I know.
I don't
I-
know you. I don't know you. Anyway, you go in, you kill everything, you go up, kill it all, come back down, and just keep going back and forth in the thing because the rooms will respawn, after so much time has passed. The whole point in doing that is because it actually drops a lot of money. Level 2 is where you go to farm rupees. All the money. You can only hold in this first game 255 rupees. That's it. That's all you can hold. The most expensive item was 250 rupees. Anyone remember what that is?
The Begoron sword.
No, that was not in the game yet.
You're a little ahead of the.
All your swords are free, actually. So,
Oh.
The ring.
Your ring finger? It's your ring finger. It's the ring finger, ain't it?
Power.
No.
Power ring.
one of the rings. You have 2 rings in this game. There's a blue ring and a red ring. The red ring you don't get until level 9. It's a treasure in the final dungeon. So the blue ring, you can buy it, though, from a merchant for 250 rupees, and it's going to effectively cut the damage you take by like half. That's your first goal. Go to level 2, farm money, go buy the blue ring. Ta-da.
So you had a plan, and you didn't share
I
that
had a
plan
plan.
with me. You showed me how to get to level 1.
Well, because I didn't know about the plan at that time.
Actually, I seem to
All
remember.
I knew was go to level 1.
I seem to remember the story initially at that point in time was you couldn't find level 2 for forever.
Probably not.
And I think I remember you telling me you finally had like a dream that you finally found the damn thing, and like
Mhm.
the very next day you found it.
You are correct. I was playing because I had found 1 and I found 3. 1 and 3, but I had not found 2. So
Which one's up almost straight up top?
tippy top,
Yeah,
that would be level 5.
that's level 5. That's the one that's like a
Mhm.
water.
Eh,
It's by the lake, like you go out on a.
kind of. So it's you when you go to level 5, in order to get to 5, you go into something called the Lost Hills. And you can go up and get to level 5, or you can go down or right and just get lost as heck. It won't let you go anywhere because it's the Lost Hills. You just get the same screen over and over and over again. But if you go left, because there's a rock formation, it's an arrow pointing to the left. It takes you out next to like a waterfall. If I remember that correctly.
That sounds about right. It's been a while, but I do remember.
Level
I mean, I guess
4.
I get what you're saying. 6-inch, I guess again, kind of applying your imagination. It was probably the equivalent of the water dungeon, for that game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
you have to go up into the lake to get to level 5. So you have to have.
I think I know what you're talking about. Actually, level 7 was hidden under a pond. You had to play the recorder, do 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 do, and it made the pond drain out, and the entrance to level 7 appeared. Was that it?
Maybe. Was it level 7?
I
Could have been.
mean, admittedly, it's been a while since I've like done a solid playthrough. In fact, I think my experience on the second quest when I was younger, I think probably stopped me from ever fully doing another again. Because I did, I beat the original,
Second quest.
and
I got it on 3DS when they were doing the all that like with the
ambassador program.
with the console, what is it, virtual console stuff.
Yeah,
And I picked it up there, and I did a playthrough on it, and I don't actually think I finished playing through it, but I hadn't played it. That's the first time I'd played it since I was little, and so I was trying to play through it, and I remember going to one that was, or I spent some time on it, but trying to get through it to play through, to do the full playthrough. And there is level 5 is the one that you go into. You have to be able to go out in the middle of the lake area. Level 1, there's already a bridge.
Yeah. Levels 1 and 4 are in the middle of the big lake, which is right in the center of the entire Zelda map.
But
For level 1, you just cross a bridge. Ta-da! Level 4, you needed a raft to be able to float to it.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I've
I
actually
pulled
pulled
up
a
an
map up.
overworld map, and I'm looking to try to see if I can find level 7.
Level 7, if you take a look to see
And I
You see the
found 6.
graveyard?
Yeah, level 6 is in the
Right.
graveyard.
Well, level 6 is right next to the graveyard. You'll see like this gray open mouth thing,
Oh yeah.
this little gray section in the middle of these mountains there. If you go straight down, you'll see 2 lakes side by side. Level 7's the one on the left.
Because the one on the right had the fairy in it.
Correct. And I remember something about playing the clue that you found in one of the dungeons has something about playing the recorder or playing music where fairies don't live. I think was the clue,
Yeah.
the hint.
It's kind of morbid sounding.
Where fairies don't live.
Fairies don't
Play that
live.
instrument and you play it where the fairies don't live.
Yeah, because
But-
every one of those little lakes had a fairy above it, except that one. So there you go.
Fairies don't go there.
Fairies don't go there. But if you look at the top of the map, you'll see a lake with a waterfall coming off of it into a little stream that feeds into the main lake in the middle. Level
Yep.
5 is that dungeon next to it.
Yep. Let's see here.
Yeah, and I remember you could go left or right or up, but you couldn't go down. Going down just had it repeat, so you either had to go left or right to get out.
And I should know this, but I don't. But as I'm kind of been reading this and stuff, I guess I didn't. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but so in Zelda 2, well, let me back up. So in the original Zelda, you're trying to assemble the Triforce of Wisdom,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Ganon has power,
Correct.
and it's not until Zelda 2 you go after the third piece,
Triforce of Courage.
right? The courage. Okay.
Mhm.
I guess I hadn't realized that until doing kind of a little bit of homework tonight. Because I mean, I've always kind of wondered, it's like, well, Ganon has the one, you build the one. Where's the third one in the first one?
Nowhere.
Yeah, like the third piece doesn't come in play until the second one, which I have a soft spot for 2. I don't know.
I do too. Zelda 2 is different from all the others. It left the what we consider now the norm, because at the time when it came out, there really wasn't a norm, quote unquote.
I mean,
there was no normal format to it.
the cookie cutter that we get now, didn't exist then. So, there wasn't an expectation to say, well, here's the sequel. It better be, just the previous, but better.
Right.
And looking back on it now, I mean, I appreciate that design choice. Whether you hate it or love it. I mean, like I said, I've always had a soft spot for Zelda 2.
But I'm saying, and I'm thinking that we need to, we should all get together one night, pick a weekend, something to that effect, get together, get Zelda 1 fired up, and have Zesty play it. But I mean,
We'll coach him.
We can be his lifeline. Yeah, we can be the lifeline. We're not going to just leave you out to dry.
I don't believe you.
Well, that's fair.
Hey, Zesty, go slap that chicken.
Go over there
and hit it again. Just keep hitting it.
Hey, you remember how you attacked that old man in the cave in Overworld? Well, attack that here in the dungeon now. Do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. You can't possibly fail.
Can't fail at all. But
You guys are jerks. Because I feel like you'll actually, because I know about the chickens. I don't know about the old man. So you probably can get me on a few of them.
the chickens didn't actually appear though until Link to the Past.
Link to the Past.
SNES. I mean, the thing is, there's so much you can say about this. At the same rate, you find it difficult and struggle on narrowing it down, really, especially with the very first one, because there was a lot of wonder when you first started playing it, and it was because it was so open. But before this come along, we were used to side scrolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take Mario, go from the left to the right, yeehaw, avoid the enemies, ta-da.
I
But
think you
this
hit
come
on something.
along,
You've hit on something there. The word wonder. We had it.
there's a lot of wondering.
There's very few games though that have come along, and there's one that comes along every so few years, or so every couple of years. Actually, it feels like it's longer than that nowadays. That manages to find that spark again. The original Zelda did it. I would say Grand Theft Auto 3 created that sense of like amazement and wonder and like, holy
Mhm.
crap, I could do whatever I want. Skyrim,
Yep.
Fallout, Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time. Honestly, Zelda probably has the most accolades to keep recreating that sense of wonder.
Yep.
Like you
I
step into
would
that
agree.
world and you're just lost. Sometimes on an island. Nothing.
Nobody
Nothing.
nobody says
lost.
anything.
On an island.
I'm ignoring you.
As he says, listen here, dirtbag.
Yup. Listen, douche nozzle.
look, I said I already said it. We've all been lost. I mean,
Yeah.
we all did not. We played these games without the modern convenience of the overworld, map.
Here's the thing.
Of the modern convenience.
Yeah,
Just in general.
The biggest place you're going to get lost on in anything on this first Zelda game, it's not going to be the overworld. The overworld, you're going to learn it.
Sending you this unnecessary inconvenience.
What?
Necessary inconvenience.
Okay, I'm sorry. That just reminded me of like an email message I got the other day, and somebody was saying that they're sending me that an unnecessary inconvenience. And I was like, okay.
I mean, as opposed to a necessary inconvenience.
I guess. Okay.
I mean, it's kind of it's an inconvenience,
I was just
I
very
think all
confused.
inconveniences are unnecessary.
right?
Well, that's usually the way it goes.
It is.
Yeah, but it's
what it is.
not the overworld you're going to get lost on. It's going to be in those dungeons.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to get lost.
Where you're-
1, 2, 3, 4, not so much. Level 5, it starts to get tricky. Trying to
'Cause
figure
then-
out where to go, what door
and
to open, which
and
room
you
has
hit-
the secret stairway.
Then you hit a point where you're just bombing every single square inch looking for a hole.
Make it
Yeah.
die.
I'm telling you, there's a bush right below. Right
You
below.
gotta
If you're
push
looking
through it.
at the map, there's a bush right below. If you come straight down from level 1 and you run it down, there's 2 bushes that you can beat up. I think they're trees. They're supposed to be trees.
Yeah, they're actually supposed to be trees, but
Let's start
They're
saying
only supposed to be
trees.
trees. But
No,
we're
he's
gonna go with
right.
bushes because it sounds funnier. And so you go down in the
Push
bush
through the bush.
and
get in there and beat that bush. But no, he's right. There is right below level 1.
You guys are all toddlers.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, come on, man.
I'm not saying it's
Please.
funny. I'm
The
just saying you're
return-
toddlers.
The return of the Bladder Buster 5000 this episode, so it's back.
What happened to it last time?
Had a little bit of an issue getting the lid cleaned. I had to be able to pop this thing out, and I didn't want to take the time to work on it, so it just kind of set to the side. But I finally did what I needed to do to get it nice and clean. So there we are. Ta-da! But no, and some of these bushes are worth burning. Some of them aren't. Some doors are worth blasting through. Some of them aren't.
Yeah.
Every now and then you blast through one and they're like, hey, pay me for the door, and they'll take like 100 of your rupees.
You killed my door.
Yeah, now pay
Well,
me
you
for
know,
it,
and
you jerk.
man, that's what got so
All you had to
frustrating
do
with
was knock.
that's what got so frustrating with the second quest. Man.
Yeah, just about every one of them is that.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I've never beat the second quest. I'll admit it. It's okay. Well, and then the dungeons in the second quest were like just like
dude.
stupid hard to find.
They rearrange all the dungeon locations except for level 1. Level 1 stays in the same spot, but they rearrange its layout. But then all the others are in different areas.
Like there's one like
I want
walk
to
along this river and randomly get a notion to blast this one particular spot.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm talking
yeah.
about. There's no
I want
way.
to think
There's no
level
way
2.
you'd ever know.
What are the
Level
chances?
2, I think, is actually in a tree or something to that effect.
Basically,
so
just
anyway,
until it happened.
I don't know. Maybe that was where we were supposed to call the game counselor line.
spend $2.99 per minute to talk to them.
Good Lord. Back when that was a hopeful career opportunity when I grew up, and
Yeah.
yeah,
They blew that one out of the water for you.
yeah. It seemed like a great idea.
I
Just sit and play video games all day.
I watched a small documentary on that actually, and they they weren't the video gaming gods we thought they were as kids. For one, we know more now than they did then, and they didn't really get paid too well.
No,
They didn't get paid well at all,
and they just had a playbook. And if somebody figured something out, you added it to the playbook. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They kept up with their own notebooks. Essentially, they would have these just notebooks strewn on their desk with all the games in them and all the information. Those official Nintendo players guides that were sold, they had that.
Yeah. Oh well.
It was all lies. It was an illusion.
It was. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's where we were supposed to call the line.
Figure it out.
No, I think it's a great idea. We will sit down. We will coach you through it.
Not the second quest. We're not going to put you through that.
That might be a team effort. That could actually be a fun team effort.
It's true. And if you wanted to jump to it, we know how to just jump straight to the second quest. So,
and then, I mean, the second quest was hard, but everything in the first one still felt manageable. To me, nothing, and I know I said I have a soft spot for Zelda 2, but to me, nothing could beat the difficulty of Zelda 2.
Oh, hell. Oof. Especially when you got to the point where you had to go through Death Mountain.
Yeah.
There was a point in the game that you got where you did the first, second, and I think third palace, and now you have to go through Death Mountain to be able to get to the rest of the map and the rest of the world. And Death Mountain is aptly named. It was terrible. Ugh, hard as balls to
Yeah.
get through.
Easy to get lost. Honestly, I think one of the difficulty probably wouldn't be so bad if Link's sword wasn't like a stubby little dagger,
Right?
It was an
It
actual
didn't look like
sword.
much of a sword to
right?
me.
Tink, tink. You had to get point blank with those enemies.
You had no choice in the matter. And it was also a rough transition going from your sword when you had full health shooting all the way across your screen to going about 2 foot in front of you.
I was going to say 3, but I guess I was being generous.
It did not go
It
far
wasn't
at all.
much. No,
You
it
might as
wasn't
well not have
much.
had full health just to shoot your sword. Just have full health for the sake of having full health. You really don't get many other benefits from it.
Mm-mm.
Now I would say that both of those games have an enemy in common that was just brutal to fight, and it was just a normal enemy. It was not a boss character. It's just a normal enemy. And Zelda 1, I want to think they called them Dark Nut. Yeah, Darknut.
Dark Nut.
And in Zelda 2, yeah, Dark Nut. And then in Zelda 2, they were called Iron Knuckle. And I think Iron Knuckle is what stuck through the rest of the Zelda games.
They
But it was
were
the heavily armored suit of armor enemies.
Oh,
In Zelda
golly.
1, they
Sixers
would just walk
remembers.
around with a shield.
Oh.
Yeah, you could not attack these guys from the front, and they just the pattern
You
that
have to
they
try to
went
get
into was
around
just
them.
so yeah,
And good luck.
it was nuts. You could not predict what they were going to do, and it's like as soon as you got up behind them to do an attack, they would immediately turn around and face you, and you would hear clink, and then where they hit you. And then Zelda 2, it was an actual duel. It was like an actual fight because he'd have the shield, and that shield would go high or it would go low. And wherever that
Yeah.
shield wasn't, you'd had to attack high or low to be able to hit it. But on top of that, it would attack high or it would attack low, and you could see the sword come out behind it when he was winding up the swing. So you would have to block high or low, and you were just going back and forth fighting this thing. It was horrid. Absolutely horrid. Yet fun. I don't know. It was weird.
There was
But both
definitely a
those
dance to it.
enemies, yeah, both those enemies are hard as balls in both games for different reasons. But a well placed bomb in Zelda 1 can really do a number on them. A well placed
And
bomb can do a number on about anything in Zelda 1.
and thinking to both games, there's one aspect that I really it's another one of those I miss the way it used to be, and I'm getting on my here's my old man moment.
Oh, here we go.
The instruction manual was like awesome for both of these games. The artwork and the story background for both of these games that was in the manual.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with that.
Like I wanted a Legend of Zelda cartoon based on the comic animation look from the first manual. That was weird.
I think he just left the room.
No, that wasn't me. Sorry. I wasn't fast enough on the mute button.
Oh.
No, I agree 100%. The artwork was fantastic. The artwork for each of the enemies was in the manuals, and I remember that looked awesome. The Octorok, it had an actual art rendition of the creature next to its game sprite. and I remember the game sprite looking nothing like what it actually
Well,
would have looked like.
it helped fuel your imagination, for this open
Yeah,
world that you're diving into. And yeah, I mean, obviously we got a much different Zelda animation for that era.
excuse me, princess.
Oh gosh.
uh,
It was awful.
it was.
I mean, it was enjoyable for a time, I guess, but it portraying Link the way they portrayed Link.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's not how I would have viewed Link being.
Well, so here's something. The way they did that. Everything's. Hey, that cartoon was ahead of the curve because Zelda was, the strong, female lead basically in that. I mean, Link was an idiot.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, he had
Well,
skills.
he was a good fighter. He just wasn't a very
Yeah,
bright
he had
person.
skills.
I remember seeing a little comic, and it's like, it's like Link walking in as a little kid with like the sword, and to his mom and dad, and it's like the dad walks in, he's like, "Our son pulled the sword," and she's like, "I saw him eating a rock yesterday," and I feel like that's a very apt description.
Well, I mean,
Probably.
like for real, like no fooling here. They did, like with the cartoon, he was just obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, like just like over the top obnoxious. Like, oh my gosh,
I don't get what they were thinking with it because the Mario cartoon was not that way. All the characters were pretty well how you kind of imagined them to be, and
how
here
you
the
would
Zelda one,
expect Mario and Luigi to be.
right? And
Mhm.
in the Zelda one, Zelda was how you expected her to be based on the lore and stuff at that point, and
Yeah.
I don't know why they did what they did of Link. I thought
Excuse
Ganon was a
me, princess.
I thought Ganon was a great villain in that. They did Ganon right.
Yeah,
Big
Ganon
ugly hog.
was pretty good in that, and I liked his voice, the way they
Yeah.
did his voice. Now I'm curious as to who
you're
did
gonna
that
see
voice.
you're gonna see who did it. You're the voice guy.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, that was something those two had in common. I don't recall. I've still got. I actually found all of my old Super Nintendo instruction manuals. I still have them. Thought I had lost them. I actually found them in a old, kind of vintage, classic looking like elementary school pencil box, all neatly stacked in there. I need to open up the Link to the Past manual and see if it was the same. I'm not remembering on that one. But I know Link to the Past had the awesome comic that ran in Nintendo Power. If anybody remembers that.
yeah.
Vaguely. Because I remember looking at Nintendo Power when we used to go to the Piggly Wiggly. And we'd go in and we'd sit in the Piggly Wiggly and of course mom and dad do their shopping and I just walk over to the where they had the comic books and the different magazines and stuff like that. And they always had like Nintendo Power and Mad Magazine and stuff like that. And so I'd be, uh-oh.
So what's he finding?
He's going to find it.
Well, so they actually released it in graphic novel form. several years ago. I don't know if you can find it still,
Oh wow.
but I mean, just fantastic artwork. But it's the complete what Nintendo Power had, for the months that they ran it. Um, yeah, story and art by and I'm just going to apologize. My American I know is gonna butcher this, but Shotaro Ishinomori. That's my best American stab at it. I apologize. But yeah, it's everything that ran in the Nintendo Power magazine. And actually, I've got the one for Super Mario World that Nintendo ran. But this was all based off the Super Nintendo one, so we got a little extra with it.
Well, I found who did Ganon's voice. The voice actor's name is Lynn Carlson. Fortunately, he left us in January of 2006.
Did you say fortunately?
Unfortunately.
I heard.
Yeah.
Okay. I was
Unfortunately.
like, is he a bad guy? I'm confused. I mean, he played a bad guy.
Yeah, no. He played a bad guy, but that doesn't mean he was a bad guy. Unfortunately, he left us in January 2006, but he did other things. He was in Dino Saucers. I don't know how many people remember it.
Vaguely. I've heard of it.
He was Aloe, so he played the good guy leader in Dino Saucers. Alf, the animated series.
Alf?
Yeah.
God, I haven't heard that name in a while.
He provided voices in the Beetlejuice cartoon. X-Men, the animated series from 92 to 96. He was Senator Kelly.
Okay.
He was Crusher in Donkey Kong Country. Roly Polioli, the great defender of fun. He was Pappy Poley.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to pick out things that would be familiar. Do you remember? I don't know if any of Connor. I definitely know you're not going to remember this one, but do either of you remember the raccoons on Disney? They had a raccoon who loved peanut butter, and the bad guys were these pink anteater looking guys that had like these long snozzes that kind of remind you of the Snorks.
Yes.
One of them was always smoking a cigar. He was Bert the raccoon in that.
I do remember that.
I remember David the Gnome.
David the
Gnome. Well, see, now you got me down a rabbit hole. And the guy that voiced Link has had quite the career.
Jonathan Potts.
Yeah. Of voice acting and regular acting. I mean, he was in Jason X. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's anything. I mean, he's been in a mix of live action and voice work. So,
I mean, he's just on IMDb for the most part. I don't see a wiki for him.
He was Bert the raccoon.
Yeah. Bert, that's what I said.
Bert the raccoon.
Yeah, Lynn Carlson, Ganon was Bert the raccoon.
And then the Zelda voice actress has had a pretty extensive career as well. So
Friday the 13th, the series, yeah.
Would he say something crazy like, "Excuse me," in all of his lines?
That would be hilarious. But yeah, I kind of want to go back and watch Jason X now to like see his character in it and like see if his voice, if it, if it rings a bell now.
I'm pretty sure that he altered his voice some way or another to do these things. So
next time, Gadget,
I'll get you, Gadget.
So, but yeah, you know,
Oh, don't
Zesty.
threaten me with a good time.
Thinking Zesty
Golly.
fell asleep.
I think Zesty did too.
I
Wake up, Zesty. Huh? What?
think Zesty
Hey, man,
fell asleep.
I hope
Oh,
you better be taking notes
I
because we're
was
going to have
just
this night.
I was just talking to you guys. I literally just
don't
made a
believe you.
joke, and I was wondering why nobody heard it. So I must have just not gone through.
He probably fell asleep with the
I don't think
controller
you
in his
did.
hands.
No, because I said, did you hear? He's the raccoon. I don't remember what name you said he was, but
Bert,
apparently
Bert.
nobody. Yeah, I heard like right after
Hey, Bert.
after you said, I just said that.
I
said
said that.
I waited for like 3 seconds, and then I said, "Did you hear? He's Bert the raccoon."
Oh yeah, I don't think any of us heard that.
yes,
Yeah, so-
we heard
Actually-
that.
So I guess it just didn't go through. I mean, I'm still here. I'm
Well-
trying to make commentary where I can.
Good.
Well, by the
That's
way, Lynn Carlson, who voiced Ganon, was Bert the raccoon. In case you didn't know that.
There will be a quiz later.
Later, that'll probably be the only question on the quiz. Who was Bert the raccoon?
Ganon.
That's
Eh.
acceptable. Oh,
I don't. I wouldn't.
tiebreaker.
I don't know.
Listen,
I
man,
mean,
I'm
Ganon is
terrible
not
with
Bert the
names.
raccoon.
Yes, he is. Me.
uh, so anyway, I think we've got the first two Zeldas, high level covered. And we kind of leave room if we ever want to like do a super hardcore deep dive, into it for an
Yeah.
episode down the road. But
Well, there's that bush.
maybe we won't revisit. Maybe we won't revisit.
Deep bush.
So it was in Zelda: A Link to the Past, in which you could not only burn the bush, you could cut the bush, and you could pick the bush.
Well,
Can you trade the bush?
Might as well get that out of the way.
Yeah.
God bless.
I got nothing. They're just shrubs.
On that
and
note,
A Link to the Past. They're just shrubs.
neat, neat.
Um,
Can you
'cause
penetrate the shrubs?
so looking to A Link to the Past though, and this one's kind of special for me because this was the first one that like I was alive for the release. The other two I came in well after the fact, after they'd been out, and was still right on that edge. This is the first one, like I'd been a gamer for a few years. I'd been reading Nintendo Power. I knew this thing was coming and got super hyped for. So that Link to the Past has that kind of first distinction for me. But it took us back to the roots.
It did. It took us back to the original viewpoint. I mean, it is the third Zelda game. But it did take us back to the original over the top looking down on it. And it took what we knew from the first one and made it look so much better. I do kind of feel that, I don't know, it feels like the map and the world is smaller by comparison.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really
Um,
is. And honestly, it feels less open world. I feel like Zelda: A Link to the Past is a much more linear adventure. Like you do have some liberties and to explore and find secrets and things throughout. But for the most part, I feel like you're kind of set on a path and like you kind of you stick to it.
yeah.
But still a great game. I I do think it might be my favorite Zelda overall
I think I kind of agree with that.
because it looks so good. Was the over the overhead? You know, it took some of the best of the first game, just made it better. Um, Soundtrack was great. Story was great. I don't know if we want to go into a full ranking right at this exact moment, but I do think it's probably my favorite Zelda. What's that?
There's so many other Zeldas though.
I know.
And that's the thing is, if I have to rank them, like what ones did I have the most fun playing, we would have to include some of the later ones, obviously.
Oh, obviously, yeah, absolutely.
But the one specifically that I would actually say that I've had the most fun actually playing, was the new version of Link's Awakening was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, but it kind of threw back to, for me, kind of like a Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, and Minish Cap, which were all on Game Boy, but the Game Boy Advance. So, and those were just, for what they were and the amount of game you get, they were just really good games. And so I would actually say that yes, I enjoyed the others, the more, the older, more retro-y versions of, the original Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, or, whatever you wanted to call it, but Link to the Past, and then Link's Awakening. The original Link's Awakening is, just from what I've played through it on my Game & Watch, oddly enough, I've had a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very close in the same aspect of what the new one, the remake, is, and it's pretty much the same storyline, just better graphics.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening actually introduced a new mechanic that I haven't really seen repeated much. And it's the only Game Boy one that I've played, by the way, Link's Awakening. But it introduced where you could assign any item you had, sword, shield,
Yep.
bomb, boomerang,
To a
whatever the
different
case
button.
was, to either of your buttons. So you could be running around with your bombs in one button and your boomerang in the other one instead of your sword and whatever.
Shield, sword.
Yeah. So, I mean, all the others, you pretty much had one button was always the sword. But this one, you could change that. So that was an interesting mechanic that I liked. It also introduced
Well,
how
see,
in
Minish Cap and the Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, both kind of fit into that same kind of. You could assign things to the different buttons. You didn't have to, you know. Which, of course, once you got to those, to the advance, or to the end of the SP, you kind of had more buttons.
Yeah.
You had more buttons to choose from. So
You had a little more room to experiment and assign things.
Link's Awakening also brought back how in the first Zelda where you would go into the dungeon and you would go down the steps to where the item was hidden, and then it did kind of like a side thing where you went down some steps, went up, and you grabbed the item. Link's Awakening had stages that were just fully side scrollish,
yeah,
and it even had Goombas in it.
Mm-hmm.
yes,
I remember the Goombas. Our first crossover event.
Yeah,
the
it had Goombas.
Goombas in Link's Awakening.
So I thought that was interesting.
Um, I know this is kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily off topic or not, but I had been thinking about this, like, because you guys talk about it quite frequently. Like, the older games had a lot of mystery to them, where like not a lot was explained. They kind of just threw you into the world and let you explain or explore, and there wasn't a whole lot of explanation to it.
Mm-hmm.
What's really funny is I was watching, and what made me think about this was I was watching YouTube the other day, and they were talking about, it was a video on Warframe, and he was talking about how, like, in the beginning they explain everything's real story driven, and they go through and they explain all the mechanics, and then at a certain point they just stop and leave you to your own devices, and it feels really bad. And I was like, that's so weird how you can have two games where they were just released in a different time period, but the people's reaction to them is wildly different just because of when they released.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's
And
and I'll be
so,
honest, if you hold my hand too much,
yeah,
I get
no,
pissed
no, I
with
understand
some
that.
games. Yeah.
Um, but there's
Um,
also, like, I've seen too, like on the flip side of that, when people were talking about Elden Ring, they loved how little holding there was in that game. So it was really weird how, it's like just depending on what the game was and people's reaction to it determined how much hand holding they wanted.
mhm.
And
I'm
so,
I'll use for example because actually I had this thought the other night. I've been playing Gundam SD Alliance, and because I'm a big Gundam fan, and even though I hate the SD stuff, it's the only Gundam game out there, and I'm just itching for something Gundam to play. So I'll take the Super Deformed. But I've been at a point where I'm just like just slapping the button to get through, dialogue and stuff because I'm like, I get it. I'm not an idiot. I know, I get where you're going.
let me do things.
Just let me, yeah, just let me do things. Because yeah, we kind of come from that where we were cut from. Here's your game, figure it out. Good luck. And
And I
it
feel
says
like
a
there's
lot.
Happy hunting.
still a large community that really enjoy that. I think that's why there's certain games like Warframe and like Elden Ring and like Zelda's, where it's like they just toss you into a world and you have to figure it out.
Yeah,
And it's like that's why there's still a community around that, because they like the, figuring it out. They like, you know, having the knowledge that nobody else does. It's like, hey, I finally figured this out. My buddy hasn't. I'm so ecstatic. And it's
yeah,
like, and then you can help them through it, and it makes it even more fun because now you've created a small community where everybody's just sharing their knowledge by word of mouth because there's nothing online about it.
well, and even Breath of the Wild had that. I mean, you see some
Well, that's
absolutely insane videos of what some people have done with the mechanics of
Yeah.
that game.
Oh, there's some
that was
glitches that I saw that were just absolutely
Yeah.
baffling and were hilarious. People are flying across the map with the time stop and
on
the
a shield.
bombs. Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
I was about to say some of the favorite things I've seen on that is with that time stop item. They time
Yeah.
stopped one of the enemies and then just wound up, ting, 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 and then when it released, it just pew, shot off
Oh,
out into the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
that
I
was that
laughed
was
at that so
another good
hard.
one. There was a clip, and there's an enemy in Breath of the Wild that betrays you after you complete like the quest, and somebody wound up, like, did the time stop thing, and they wound it up and right next to this enemy, and he's like, yay, thank you. He's like, haha, just kidding. Now I'm gonna kill you or whatever, because it's all in Japanese, so I didn't know what he was saying. But basically, all of a sudden, as the dialogue ends, the boulder comes through and just kills him, and it's
curse your
wonderful.
curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yeah, it's like you knew it was coming, so it was so funny. I loved it so much because it's like you hear in the background tink, 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 and then he's like, haha, dialogue ends, bap.
Yeah. But yeah.
That's what I was going to say about Breath of the Wild is that you think about it in that sense that if you put yourself into the game, Link wakes up. It's been 100 years, or whatever.
Yeah.
He
I
has,
think it was 100. Yeah.
yeah, he has no idea what the heck is going on. He don't
Where
even
am
know
I?
where he's
Who
at.
am I?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of like, okay, here's your Sheikah slate, here's this, but then the rest of it's like, well, you got to go out and you just kind of got to wander around
And
and
figure it
then
out.
yeah, and then you run into the old man, and he kind of
Nudges you in the right direction.
kind of says, okay, well, let's go for a hunt. Let me help you hunt. We'll hunt some pigs or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, okay, so yeah, you need to do something with these shrines, you know, or the towers, And so he kind of helps you out. But once you get to that certain point that you finish that with him and you get the shrines, you get the tower, and then you get, he basically rewards you by giving you his glider. You're kind of on your own,
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
to figure out where to
He's
go,
very,
who to talk to.
very reminiscent of that first old man from the first game. Hey, here's your sword. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Yep.
All right,
See ya.
bye.
And
It's dangerous to
before
go alone, but I'm not going with you.
before they got too far, before you obviously realize, kind of the timeline and the technology and the story behind it, at one point you could almost consider Breath of the Wild a remake of the first game.
If it only had 9 dungeons in it and not all
If it only
those-
had 9 dungeons. Yeah. Absolutely.
not all those
because-
puzzles.
Yeah, that'll be something. I'm hoping we get back to dungeons with Tears of the Kingdom. But
don't
yeah,
know, I
it
kinda
really
like
Breath of the
puzzles and
Wild. I kind of
stuff.
consider a not really a remake, I guess, but it's definitely a revisit to that feeling of the first game. Well, and even kind of the gloom and doom. I mean, if you open up, the Hyrule Historia, and realize where the first game is in the timeline, it's a pretty dark
Doom and
period of
gloom.
time for Hyrule, and the same applies to Breath of the Wild. So, there's a lot of parallels there. Of course, Hyrule Historia came out before Breath of the Wild, and the timeline is ever changing and confusing.
Fluctuating.
Well, they like with the Link Between Worlds and stuff like that, and where they say some of these are they're alternate timelines. They're not just it's like if you had done this, you would be in this timeline, but if you did this, you would be in this timeline. And this, and these games are linear to that specific timeline. So you had Link to the Past, which obviously was, time travel.
Yep.
Arena of Time travel.
Time has always been a
You
central, a central part of Zelda.
Majora's Mask, you're literally rewinding time 3 days.
Time. A Link to the Past
And I
references time.
and I swear, with Majora's, the only way to play that game is the 3DS version. And maybe
yes.
it's too much hand holding. I don't know. I'm sure there's some hardcore people that would
No,
disagree with
dude.
me.
The
But
Bomber's Notebook is exactly what that game needed.
Yeah, there's no other way to keep up with it.
Because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
You have to, you get to the end, the moon's about to crash, you've got to go back in time.
Yep. I played further on the 3DS version than I ever played of the prior.
I actually
So,
think I beat it I beat it on the original N64.
woo!
Um,
I tip my hat to you, sir.
it was rough. I mean, I
It's great.
couldn't. If you set me down now, I couldn't recreate it.
You just got lucky.
It would take me a while. Yeah, it would take me
Here's
a
the
while to
thing.
figure it out.
That's a fair statement for a lot of the games that we originally played on the original release on the original systems and beat. We couldn't sit down now and probably
I
recreate.
did it. Don't know how.
Yeah, but like the 3DS, I played through it and I had a blast on it. It was a lot of fun, and it wasn't nearly as tough as I remembered it. Only because I had the Bomber's Notebook, which help you keep track. You know, it's basically like a quest log. So it
Yeah.
helps you keep track of where you're at in your quests, so you're not like just wandering around aimlessly going, "No, what
Well,
was I doing here?"
and it gets you to the meat of things. Like it doesn't. It just helps you keep track of stuff, so you're not wasting time, and you don't miss any secrets. And you can choose to do it or choose not to do something. Still, but it's just that extra little nudge. And yeah, I mean, in my mind, for my money, it made the game far more enjoyable.
Far less frustrating,
Yeah, definitely.
because there was quests that I did in the original that I absolutely have no idea how I did it in the original. Like, I don't remember even, like, did I even do this quest?
I don't remember.
No, I don't remember this
this.
quest chain. Did they add it? No, this is original. I mean, it came with the N64 version.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't remember doing this portion of it. And then I'm like, but I would have had to have, I thought, because it's like you have to go do this one thing so that you can get this next piece of the puzzle, in the quest chain to move forward.
Right.
And so, like, going to the like what Zesty was talking about earlier with his with the really nasty um, forest.
Yeah.
There was a lot that I didn't remember about going into that forest and stuff that you could do inside there. That was just like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do here. So
Yeah, I've been meaning to sit down my 3DS and kind of pick back up on my playthrough that I was doing, amongst other things, and never really seemed to find time for.
yeah,
I honestly, I've been saying for a while, I've been wanting to do a replay of A Link to the Past. As we've talked about it and stuff. It's not a hard game to get through and put a lot of hours in.
Except for Turtle Rock.
Ugh,
Hate Turtle Rock.
Turtle Rock. And something I liked about A Link to the Past, when they sold that game, we were kind of sold on a new villain. And you didn't get Ganon until the end. However you pronounce what's his face's name.
Aghanim.
I've never heard it verbalized. I've always said Aghanim or Agnahim or my Southern's coming out, but how can I butcher this word?
Agnahim. That there be that Agnahim. Oh darn.
That darn wizard done took my princess.
He done went and done shot that magic shit at me and took the damn princess at the bush.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna take this sword.
But if
come back
if you
here.
remember,
At my sister.
all the articles leading up to that game was about that wizard and a new enemy. You know, they
I knew
did a
enemy,
good
yeah.
job back then of hiding Ganon.
They did, and seeing him in all of his 16-bit glory there at the end, what he looked like,
16
I mean,
bit
it truly,
glory.
seriously, it
Hey,
was
it
truly an
was epic.
upgrade. Yeah, an upgrade from what he looked like in the first Zelda game, and you're like, whoa! I mean, even
Well,
like skin color and everything was true to form.
mhm.
He was an
And it was a
upgraded.
fight.
Big old mean looking
Oh
hog.
man, it was a
It was a
fight.
because you beat that final dungeon, and then you're teleported to it, and it's like, oh crap, the big reveal, and you're tossed into it, and it was a good epic boss fight, along with the
The,
music. I mean,
the
I
music, yeah, I
love
was
the
about to
Dark
say
World,
that.
theme, and Ganon's theme, and all of that with the Super Nintendo one was awesome.
Uh,
Now, is that one on the? That's on the NES Classic, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
Yeah. So there's a little plug if somebody wants to pick it up. The NES Classic, or
Or
not
if you've
NES, but the SNES Classic.
or if you've got Switch Online, it's available.
Yeah. Or if you got Switch Online,
Yep.
you can pick that up. Play it.
Yeah, I will never forget beating that game. That was an epic evening. That big reveal. I do remember that feeling of like, oh crap, it's him. He's back. they alluded to it, they talked about it, but like to be there to, you know, that giant bat form of him crashing into the temple.
the top of the
Yeah.
that pyramid.
So many great memories though of just and I would say that's why A Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda. And it's kind of like the Final Fantasies. Like Final Fantasy 4 is my favorite Final Fantasy. But from a overall mechanics, depth, storytelling, you know, there are other, I guess, technically better Final Fantasies. Technically. But there's a certain soft spot for like 4. Same applies to A Link to the Past. And I mean, it is technically also great, but just that era of gaming just speaks to me. And that time in my life, and when I had time to game and devote hours upon hours to, you know, try and burn down every bush in a field. But yeah, it's you know, A Link to the Past. I think that's why it just that era. You know, even though, you know, Ocarina is a lot of people's top Zelda. Breath of the Wild, obviously now to me ranks very, very highly. Honestly, I'd put Breath of the Wild at number 2 for me, and then probably Ocarina. And I'm just shooting from the hip here on that one, but I would say Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild, Ocarina, then Wind Waker.
I don't think Wind Waker would be in my top 5.
Dramatic pause.
He says, "I don't think Wind Waker would be my top 5." They just kind of just.
Well, I got to thinking about what my
nothing.
top 5 would be, and so my mouth stopped and my brain was going.
Wind
It
Waker,
ain't my top 5.
golly, Wind Waker was good, but there was another.
I mean,
There was another Legend of Zelda game that was similar to Wind Waker. and it for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it.
Was it the one for DS?
That might have been it. But it was a boat. You had a boat.
The Phantom Hourglass?
Phantom Hourglass. That's it. That was fun.
I admittedly have not played that one. I've been meaning to. I
Oh,
want to.
You need to. That one's a fun one. If you liked Wind Waker, that one's kind of a it's kind of like Wind Waker-ish, but not.
Okay. Hang on. Let's see. Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild, Ocarina, Wind Waker, and then I would probably say Link's Awakening. Sorry, my mind just like was struggling with the words there. I don't know if it's because it's after midnight or what, but yeah, I would say Link's Awakening. Wind Waker kind of falls in that camp of thinking outside of the box because it was different. And I remember on the Cube, the original, sailing the seas, and it was different. I understand I won't not necessarily hate, but I guess kind of
Well, you had
not
a
so
lot
much
of people
love.
who were like, they got pretty pissy over some of the, like, from the way I looked at it. It's like, well, that's you were doing so good with these other games, like, you had Ocarina of Time, you had Majora's Mask, and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to get this new Zelda game, and it's a cartoony kid.
People were so mad over
A lot of
that.
people
So mad about, and it was
a
just
lot
like
of people
about the
couldn't get
graphics,
over
and I'm
that
like,
cell shaded.
Yeah, and I don't think you're not ranking it highly is because of that at all, Janigan. I don't
No.
think that's the
Yeah,
case at
no,
all.
it's
he's
not.
a realist.
And reading
I
your top
had-
5 in the private chat, Zelda 2 does rank. Oh, God, it's close. It's close. I don't know. I do have a soft
Wind
spot for Zelda
Waker-
2.
The graphics and the way it looked for Wind Waker to me was not the deal breaker. I enjoyed the way it looked.
Mhm.
It was a new take, and it was a refresh on the way the overall graphics was and how it was animated and the way it looked. So the cell shading graphics to that was not the deal breaker for me. I had no qualms about that. What was the deal breaker on that one for me was, I think, one of your likes, selling the 7 seas. I mean, my God, how far do I have to need to go in this water? I've been going in a straight line for 30 minutes, and I have yet to even see a palm tree. And so that was not a happy, fun time for me.
It
Quite
was a
honestly.
slog on the Cube. I'm not going to lie. It was a slog on the Cube. The Wii U version definitely streamlined that and made it it made it better. But I don't know. There was just
a time I had to traverse this big field and to get where I'm going, but at least I had a horse to do it, and at least I would run into something every now and then to stab my sword into. I mean, in Wind Waker, I couldn't catch a fucking fish. Jeez.
There was a charm to Wind Waker.
Great.
But yeah, kind of like what 6 Inch was going on about. It definitely got an unfair, and I know it was because, and honestly, I kind of blame Nintendo for it. They should have never showed that tech demo that basically showed, an amped up Ocarina on Cube graphics, and then we got the change.
Yeah.
That I think is what pissed so many people off. Don't agree with it. I like I said, I like Wind Waker. There's a charm to it. I love the thinking outside of the box. Along the same lines of Zelda 2.
Mm. I didn't dislike Wind Waker. I did like it.
Yeah.
Definitely
No,
10.
it's
It's
all
not
good. All
not
good.
a 7.
Looking at your list in the private chat, say your private list.
My private list, I put it there so I would, because I thought about this and thought it's.
It's not your private
Yeah,
list.
Link
It's
to
in
the
the private
Past.
chat. Say your list.
Private chat. Your list. Okay. Link to the Past. Yeah, definitely number one. I shared this. It was just freaking tastic when it came out on SNES, and quite honestly, it was the first taste of Zelda we've gotten in a long time since Zelda 2. So yeah, Breath of the Wild simply because it is a masterpiece. Yeah, there's systems in it that I think are flawed, such as weapon durability. Not a fan of that. And they went away from the dungeon setup. So you had to go into there's over 100 shrines
Yeah.
altogether. Is that correct? Yeah, over 100 shrines to go in and solve instead. I'd rather have my dungeons and let's get an item out of the dungeon and go from there. Zelda 1, simply because it is what started it all. If we don't have Zelda 1, we don't have any of these others.
Mm-hmm.
Ocarina of Time, it was the first foray into 3D. It was fantastic. It was great. Dungeons now in 3D. You have up and down to worry about now instead of left and right. So that was pretty good, except for the water temple. The water temple can go die in hell.
I think it started the precedent of water temples sucking.
Yeah.
You know, we should just find we should just find
Zelda 2.
I just knocked Vegeta over again.
How could you?
I know the mouse is like really close
He'll
to where
never be
Vegeta. I know he'll get over it.
He'll never be on top.
Hell, I'm about to knock over the entire collection here. You know the slime, the Charzaku, Vegeta's in the floor again already. Anyway, I think Ocarina. I think Ocarina
And I
started.
threw him on the ground.
I think Ocarina started the precedent of the water temple being a colossal pain in everyone's life. And I've often shared how that water temple created almost a year-long delay for me finishing Ocarina.
I trudged through it with the water temple.
I hated it, and I turned it off. Got distracted, saw a squirrel. I don't know. And it was upwards of a year later, and I picked it back up. And it was one of those, like, you come in fresh, knocked it right out, and finished the game in like another couple of hours.
Yeah. I would say every Zelda game has its dungeon in it that you just hate. You don't like going into
Turtle Rock.
Turtle Rock for A Link to the Past, Water Temple, Ocarina of Time, Palace 7 or Death Mountain for Zelda 2.
Mm-hmm.
The ocean for Breath of the Wild. No, I mean for Wind Waker.
The ocean was its own dungeon.
The ocean was its own dungeon. How do you get out? Level 9 for Zelda 1. That was I hate level 9. But yeah. But that's my top 5. Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild, Zelda 1, then Ocarina of Time, then Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Voila.
Well, you got 6-inch.
Well,
You've had time to think.
that's a good question. And the answer to that question is
Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Next time on Dragon Ball. Dragon. No, the fave of all time, just because it has an incredible amount of nostalgia to me, is Ocarina of Time. I've played through that game probably at least 5 to 6 times from start to finish. And I always enjoy it and always have enjoyed it. So that one's going to be a number one just for Ocarina of Time. Um, the others, which is kind of an odd one, but the handhelds, the stuff that the ones that were on the handhelds, kind of hold a special place. I'll really enjoyed Minish Cap, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. All three of those are going to be, you know, in the top list of the ones that I've played. But Breath of the Wild, that's one of those. It was a really good game. It was different, and it was breaking kind of what we were used to with how we dealt with our Zelda games, and kind of turning it where you were familiar with it because you're used to having to do little puzzles and things like that throughout the game to solve stuff, to get into the dungeons, to move about inside the dungeons or whatever. But this took it a kind of a different way, and it just made it a lot, you know, it was like a really cool twist on kind of an old idea. It wasn't earth shattering, but it was enough to kind of say, hey, here's a different way to do this, and this is actually kind of fun and cool, and it gave you, because you still had to do, um, like with the shrines, you still had stuff you had to go do in the shrines, but you didn't have to go do them. But there were, when you would go to the temples, those were kind of your dungeons, and they weren't really
Right.
the temples; they were your divine beasts.
You're,
the
yeah, the
four
divine
beasts.
beast.
So you had your dungeons, but then you had the little side, you had these little side quests, and like with the shrines, you didn't have to get all the shrines. You could beat the. I mean, they've proven that you could beat the game, and you didn't have to get nowhere near the amount of shrines that was, that were there. But the Koroks, getting the little.
Don't even get me started on those little.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the ones that kind of came naturally, but knowing how many of them there were.
But I mean, you there was just so much to do in Breath of the Wild, and I think that the people who storyboarded that one and put it in into what we have, the just the storytelling, um, they really painted an awesome picture. Because just the beauty of being able to climb, and get up to these high points and look out all over everything was just amazing. And flying, that was pretty cool. Even though you were gliding, you weren't really flying, but gliding.
Mm-hmm.
But so I would have to say that Ocarina of Time probably would be number one. Then Breath of the Wild would be number two. After that, it would be probably a toss up between some of the Game Boy titles and because Minish Cap is fun. It is so much fun. It's just a fun little game.
I've been meaning to start that one actually. Since
Yeah.
I've been
Oh,
on
it's a
since
lot.
I've since I've been down a little bit of a 3DS or not 3DS, Game Boy Advance rabbit hole. Of course,
Yeah,
obviously it's
yeah,
on
and
the Switch. It's on the
it's
Switch
worth it.
now. But yeah, I've been meaning to dive down that one.
It's worth it. Both of the Oracle Ages, Oracle Seasons, both of those are a lot of fun too. Um, but I kind of see that Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons are both kind of they're like the same game, but not.
Mhm.
if that makes sense, they're kind of the same game, but not. Um, those would probably be in the top of the in the top five maybe, but I would kind of group them together.
Yeah.
They're extremely similar in just the play style and how they how you operate them and then just the storyline. Um, and then Majora's Mask actually.
Yeah.
Because I
I
did
think
enjoy
for
Majora's
me to
Mask.
properly rank that one, I need to really finish it. And I haven't, but dang, yeah, I need to finish it, and that might change my ranking actually. But I need to finish it, and I haven't. Full disclosure.
Yeah, it's a good one. Um, trying to think, but like the original The Legend of Zelda, it's a really good game, but it was also one of those games where it really did. They just kind of here's take it's dangerous to go alone. Take this with you.
Good luck.
Good luck. You know,
Have fun.
Yeah.
and you just kind of
Have fun storming the castle.
yeah, you just kind of wander out, and you're left. I mean, you really are left to your own devices.
Hmm.
And so, my first few times playing that game, literally the only thing I was doing was just running around killing stuff. I don't even think I made it to the first dungeon. I mean, like really, like for real. Like I literally just ran around and killed stuff. That's all I did, and was extremely PO'd because I had to, I'd walk off screen and then walk back, and the stupid, Akaroks would be back, and they'd be shooting crap
I
at
can't
me.
kill them all. They just
And
keep
then I'd be,
returning.
I'd be trying to shoot my power sword at them or whatever, and then
There's
one
a
of them
trick
would
to
hit
that.
me, and then and then I wouldn't have full health, and then I couldn't do it, and yeah.
If
So I mean,
you kill all the enemies and leave just one on the screen, when you leave and come back, that one will still be there.
well, that's good to know now.
Of
30
you
years,
know this
30
trick.
years later.
Only you would know this trick. You know all the tricks, Mister. I'm the Undertaker.
I'm the Undertaker.
I'm the Undertaker. The Undertaker is not who I was banned from. I was banned from Triple H. I was banned from Ryu, from Ken, from Scorpion, from Sub Zero. I don't want to get into it.
Are we
the
talking about
Undertaker.
Zelda?
Zesty, go. We got.
I ain't got nothing.
Yeah. Because we're gonna have a night where we put you through the grinder, but we're gonna coach you. We're gonna coach
More
you.
meat for the grinder. $20 if you can tell me what that's from.
I guess
Wait
you
a
get to
second.
keep $20, at least for me.
I'll give you a hint. He had no legs.
Lieutenant Dan? Yeah,
Nope.
he
That's
had
what
no
I was.
legs.
That's the first thing popped in my head was Lieutenant
Nope.
Dan.
The
Like
You
the,
gotta think of the
that's the
disparity
second
between
time he's
ages.
come up today.
The Black Knight. Come back, I'll bite your legs off.
nah. It is from Starship Troopers. The dude with missing an arm and a leg, or both his legs.
Oh. I hadn't
As
seen
much
that
as
movie
It was
forever.
the second one, the bad one.
Oh,
Well, that would
no
explain it.
wonder that's why none of us knew it.
Yeah,
was this,
I know.
Look,
But
there's only one Starship Troopers movies. I don't even look at the others.
yeah, it was
Actually,
it's
the
just.
animated one was really
Oh
actually
yeah, no.
good.
Rico's Roughnecks was really good. But basically it was one of the best parts of the entire movie because the lady manages to escape the bug planet with her little kid, and she's walking by the dude with no arms or missing an arm and both his legs, and he's like, "More meat for the grinder," talking about her baby.
All right, yeah.
Mm.
You're going to be the meat for the grinder when we have this weekend
Yes.
where we watch you play the first one, and
Yep.
we'll guide you. We'll guide you.
Uh-huh.
Attack old men, attack chickens.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
the old man
all right. Well,
all
we are coming up on 2 hours, so we'll start to wrap this up. Hey, we've given our kind of our favorites. We will always reserve the right to do a deep dive down the road. Maybe we'll keep it very, very, very focused on one game down the road. But that's kind of what we've done with some of the Mario Brother ones that we've done in the past, which does lead me to potentially our next episode. We might have to delay it, but I'm thinking we get the crew together here, and we go see the Super Mario Brothers movie. And because we've done 2 episodes back in the video game world, we did a lot, on movies.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking we get a crew together, go see the new Super Mario Brothers movie, and then we come back and we give our thoughts.
I'm down for that because I do want to see it.
I want to see it as well. 6 inch?
I mean,
You want to see it?
Well, of course,
Okay. I mean, you didn't say anything. I was just,
Mario.
I'm
Um,
always down for another trip to Chick-fil-A.
I know you are, man. Hey, man, this time
Mhm.
we are going to encourage the
Jesus.
zesty buffalo.
No.
We're going to
This
set
time
him
get our number.
loose. We're going to set him loose. You're going to get a number. I mean, come on. You know full well Chick-fil-A don't come off with the sauce easy. And for her to give you a whole sack full of sauce.
We'll take the tiki with him. The tiki can coach
There you
him.
go.
Yep.
There you go.
Tiki's already told me it can't be taught.
What? That's
Look.
horse hockey.
Look, the last time that happened, we almost ran a red light and it was bad. So
We almost,
Dog
we
baby,
didn't
dog
almost
baby.
run a red light.
did we run? We did
We
run
ran
a
a red light.
We ran it because he was so lost on.
He was
Doll
lost in
baby.
the sauce.
He was lost on something.
Oh, baby.
Doll babied up.
So, yeah, there may be a slight delay before the next episode. We'll get it sorted. But yeah, as we discuss old Nintendo and kind of down that rabbit hole, I think we'll do an outing of Mario Brothers. We'll come back home, fire up the stream, give our immediate thoughts on it,
Go from there.
and we may even have a funny Chick-fil-A story for Zesty.
There you go.
But as of right now, kind of wrapping it up, we do have two concurrent viewers, which we do greatly appreciate. You're getting a little bit of hate from the hate monger, Zesty. The number's unlisted. The number's unlisted. You ain't getting it.
Oh.
You ain't getting it. But yeah, now we appreciate those that are watching currently. It helps us out, and like, share, subscribe, all the usual jazz that we actually got in on the first 5 minutes
Start.
at the
I'm rather
start.
proud. I'm rather proud.
And your son didn't threaten to kill anyone over this
Yes.
one.
He
Yes.
is. not here, so I'm very.
That one episode where I was like, oh yeah, he's going to do drink your milk, and he's like, or I'll kill you, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, but whoa!
Oh no.
Let's cut
What
back
do you
on the
say?
death threats, shall we, there,
It's
kid?
like a
I
fart.
could,
Just
I
like
could
a
see
fart,
the look
man.
on your face where it's like,
Just like a
'cause
fart, you can't
we-
trust it.
we were all
You can't trust what the
expecting,
kid's gonna say.
like, share, subscribe, or else drink your milk, and it didn't happen.
Or I'll come to your house and drink your milk. Yeah,
Drink your milk, yeah. Whew.
No, this time it was like, share, subscribe, or I'll come to your house and kill you. I'm like, holy
That
mackerel!
that escalated quickly. So
That escalated in a manner that didn't need to escalate.
very,
Mm,
very, very quickly.
yeah.
So, but yeah, no, we're at a good point to wrap it up. So we appreciate the live viewers, and the commentary, and we'll we get to it when we can. But yeah, thank you for watching, tuning in, and I don't know. Anybody else have anything else? We try and not go
Wholeheartedly,
too
yes.
extreme, but you do have something else, or appreciate
The appreciation, yeah, it's wholeheartedly, most
Yeah.
definitely. I'm agreeing with you.
yes.
Yes, have some.
I'm
So-
helping.
This is fine.
We're all fine.
Loud noises.
If it weren't for the last rumblings I heard with it being kind of difficult to stream Nintendo stuff, I would say we would do a live stream with Zesty. I don't know. I don't know that I want to get into that rabbit hole with the channel. I'm trying to keep it as hassle free as possible. That's why we don't show stuff and web pages or like next to anything. So I would love to, but we may just have to. I don't know.
Maybe we
The
do
la-
some research and see what we can and can't
Yeah.
get away with. And if anything, maybe we could record him playing it and maybe throw clips if possible. I don't know. I'm not making promises. I'm not saying we will.
We'll figure it out. The last I'd heard is Nintendo was difficult and
Strict.
stuff. Yeah, and I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it
I mean,
out.
we need to come back with some highlights and discuss what he did and didn't do and how things went and go from there. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think Hate Monger's right. Face cam, no footage, and that's the thing because they can and will and have seen cases where they'll. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't have. This is a hobby. This is for fun on the side. I don't have time to deal with copyright strikes and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just we'll figure it out. But yeah, we'll get Zesty into the first Zelda and let him play around and get lost and push through the bush.
Push through the bush.
Lord have mercy.
Push through the bush.
Yep. That's a secret place where you can
It's
find
a secret to everybody.
It's
you
a
can find
secret.
wonderful things.
That's
After
great.
Zesty goes to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway,
I love it.
so
That's a good stopping
I-
point right there.
That's a good stopping point. Thank you for watching our high-level Legend of Zelda episode, which covered the early Legend of Zeldas. Again, we reserve the right to do a deep dive on very specific Zelda. But yeah, no, thanks for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. Before we sign off, anybody round the robin? What do you got? Anybody? Jannergan, what do you got?
Good to go.
Good to go.
Good to go.
6 inch.
Yeah, buddy.
Zesty.
I'm ready for a nap.
I'm sure you are.
I'm
I am sure you are.
only mildly narcoleptic.
He's the youngest one of all of us, and he's
Hey,
the one ready for a nap.
Right? Come on, us old timers holding you up.
Narcoleptic nephew.
I'm actually surprised you didn't pass out with the controller in your hand.
Yeah.
That almost happened.
Yep.
It's
I've
happened
done
a
it.
few times.
Actually.
The worst is when I'm like sitting there with my phone and it hits me in the face when I fall asleep. That's the worst.
I've done it. I laugh, but I've done it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, good deal. We will wrap up. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have something. If it lines up, we have another episode before Mario Brothers. We have another episode before Mario Brothers. If we don't, our next episode will be the new Super Mario Brother movie. So,
Woohoo!
thanks again for tuning in.
Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see you all later, Hillbillies.
The 8-Bit Hillbillies, featuring Chief RGS, Jannergan, 6-Inch Turkey. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe.